What rhymes with DEI? I'm going to let you think about that a moment because there are too many conservatives and too many liberals who are arguing over DEI. And as they continue to waste their time and other people's time, I would like to know, what do you think? Because they're fighting over fantasies, fallacies, and fables concerning DEI, known as diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, may I remind you about the moment of the Oscars so white? Remember that? And do you remember the fighting and the debating? Now, do you also remember what Tyler Perry had to say? And Tyler Perry said, while you are in Hollywood fighting, I will be in Atlanta building my own table. And do you also remember that there was such backlash with the Oscars so white? Because come to find out, it wasn't totally true because there were a lot of blacks over the years who had received Oscars. And it was just that the work that came up this time, for some particular reason, it was not selected into categories. But it did not mean that there were not many blacks who had won Oscars along the way. Now, I could get into details and I can get into who has won Oscars and who has been nominated, but that's not what this show is about. It's not about the Oscars, it's about employees in corporations, in small businesses, and in organizations. So let's get into this. Because if you go back to what Tyler Perry was telling you, he was telling you that you are fighting over something. You understand what I'm saying? That you're trying to make work that doesn't work. Now, he doesn't quite say it like I'm going to say it today, but what he was showing you that if you really want to have diversity, it's going to be up to you to have it. Now, in today's episode, I am going to go over a few things with you that I hope with all my heart that you would hear me out and that you would understand why DEI rhymes with lie, why it is a fallacy, a fiction, a falsehood, a fantasy that does not work. And it's not even balanced for you to try to make it work. It's just not, guys. It's just not. I'm going to take you through the different realms of life so that you can understand just how DEI really does not work, guys. It really is a lie. So, number one, we're going to go over how DEI is a false concept, even biblically. I'm also going to cover the facts on DEI's ROI. And also, I am going to take you through what Trump really was doing when he lifted the ban of the 11246 order. Now, I know that there's a lot of talk about the lifting of this ban, but what people are not paying attention to is what he was saying last term and what he is also saying this term and why he felt the need to touch that ban. I'm going to cover that a little bit. Also, how we all can build for all of you entrepreneurs, up and coming. Also, for corporations, number one, you have to know who you are. Once you know who you are, you're going to know how the laws operate. Okay. So, what I'm going to cover last is how we can all build a more honest, equitable, and fair businesses and organizations without, the key is without breaking the law. And in order for you to do that, you must understand who you are, especially as entrepreneurs, right? Up and coming, especially as businesses that are already established. You're going to have to figure out, who am I? How do I want this business to go? Do I want it to be large, big corporation on the public stock exchange? Or do I want to stay a private entity and stay small and expand my brand? So you must know who you are. All of that and more. And I'll be right back. Welcome back to the the Creative Leadership Network, where insight meets analysis and conversation spark transformation. I'm IBK. TCLN's goal is to impact careers, companies, and communities by helping individuals overcome systemic, social, and spiritual issues so that we all can pursue our dreams and go into the direction of what our dreams are calling. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit the notification bell so that you won't miss a weekly episode that educate to elevate. Now, let's get into the DEI and the executive order of 11246. Now, I want to take you on a little journey, right? So, what I'm going to do is talk a little bit universal and then I'm going to bring it in personally. And the reason why this is important is so that you can understand why different people think differently about DEI and to understand the fallacies and the falsehoods in DEI. Now, when you look at DEI, it is an unbalanced concept. Now, I know that there are people that argue about it. I know that there are people who stand on it and say, oh, no, there's diversity and everybody should be accepted and everybody this and this and that. But let's face it, guys, when you are working at your company, is everybody truly accepted? When people break up into their packs and they hang out with who they want to hang out with, and they go to meetings and they side with who they want to side with, and people go to employee parties, do they hang with everybody in diversity? Do they sit and pick to choose the people that they want to be around? I want you to think about that because you need to understand, is there really diversity, equity, and inclusion? Let's start with the word diversity. Diversity means a diverse people, right? A diverse ideas, diverse belief systems, diverse types of people. That's what diversity is, right? Let's get into equity. On the job, do you really believe that people are treated equitable across the board? I just want you to think about that question. Out of all the companies that you ever worked for, out of all the things that you've ever experienced, from every organization, from churches to everything you've ever been in, has there really been equity all the way across the board? Just equity. Now let's get into inclusion. Is everyone truly included? Let's look at a 500 and plus a large business. All of the employees working in one building. Is it truly diverse? Is it truly equitable? And is everyone truly included? If your answer to yes is yes to that, that means that you have not did your research. Because according to the EEOC, there have been so many discrimination cases filed across the United States of America just within 3 years alone, just since DEI has been out, that will blow your mind. Thousands and thousands of cases within each state. So obviously, that is not working. Okay? So that's what I wanted to point out. I just wanted to ask you that question because if you really believe that, then EEOC should be doing good. It should say we have no reported cases of discrimination. Everything is cool and everybody's doing right. And hey, but as a matter of fact, according to the EEOC, their cases have gotten worse and not better. Diversity and equity and inclusion has been put into place. So I just want to remind you of that, okay? So that's why I posed those questions. That's why I wanted to take you on that journey. Number two, I'll give you a little bit of my story. I've worked in corporate for about 30 something years, ever since I've been 16, right? You see my crown, honey. You see my crown. Okay, I took that wig off today. You see them edges. You see my crown. And I have a lot of understanding when it comes to corporate America. Now, I want you to get the difference. I want you to get the difference, and I'm going to give you a difference. There was a particular leader who has worked in finances for years. I follow her, I listen to her, some of her advice that I take. I think some of the advice is full of wisdom. But the difference with those people versus everyday people who do not have the connections of maybe the Masonic Lodge, maybe the sisterhood of sororities and different high up groups. And when you have those connections, your way of thinking is going to be a little bit different from Sarah, who went from the supermarket to working at the supermarket to working in the call center as a customer service agent, then working her way up to a team lead, then working her way up to management. But she didn't have the connections that you and others may have had, that you didn't have to do all of that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So understand what I'm saying. I'm not knocking nobody in nobody's way. What I'm saying is that it's going to be a different mindset. So I'll give you an example. If I'm raised in a Masonic family, or I'm raised with Masonic connections or certain type of sorority connections, I am going to get benefits and I'm going to get an easier path than those people that don't get that. They have to fight for it. They cry for it. They pray for it. You understand what I'm saying? They get rejected 99 times and then they get rejected 99 times more. And the only way they win is that they just don't give up. Do you understand what I'm saying? And sometimes they don't win at all and they just have to go find another path. You understand what I'm saying? Because they stupid with closing these doors, baby. So you must understand that if you're born into a family full of connections and full of a way of doing things, you're going to get opportunities that other people are not going to get. So you're going to think about success differently than those people. And I just want to start off with that so that you can understand why people think about diversity different. Why do blacks argue over diversity? Because some blacks got opportunities that other blacks did not. So you have two people. One is in management, another one is in management. One got their opportunity because all they had to do was make a phone call, say, girl, hook me up. You know, I BM her. Girl, you know we in that. We sisters, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Boo. And the other one, they got the door slammed in their face time and time and time and time again. And they just wouldn't give up. And they kept working and they kept studying, they kept doing things. And finally, they got a position. Do you understand why the thinking of success is going to be different? So when people are out here arguing about the concept of success, the concept of DEI, the why is so varied like that. If people would just only understand that the reason why it's like that is because everybody's life is different. Now, with that being said, you also have liars and deceivers and manipulators. They will lie about DEI 24 hours a day and be behind closed doors trying to make sure they put their foot on your back. Oh, I just had to tell the truth about that. Y'all know how I am, right? You know I'm not going to let that slide, right? Okay. Now, so I just wanted you to understand that. Understand why it's such arguments about DEI, why people perceive it so differently. Now, I want to give a shout out to someone. This person watched the video on my particular YouTube channel that I made. I did an interview with a young lady. Her name is Audrey. And the name of the video is called True Sex Crimes Beyond Hollywood Stories. So again, it's True Sex Crimes Beyond Hollywood Stories. And this young lady gave her story about sex trafficking and how she was prostituting about 7 girls and the things that were going on, right? She's not out of Hollywood. I tell people all the time, everybody hopping on Diddy, but this is not just a Diddy thing. This is an American thing. And I just want to stop and give her a shout out. Her name is Emily. And so her channel is Emmeline Katoa at 2114. Emily had to say this. I want to thank you both for the raw and the real. I see both sides honestly, and I came here for Audrey, but I got so much more. Keep shining, keeping the ministry going, and thank you so much. And I just want to give a shout out to you, Miss Emily, and I want to say thank you for tuning into the Creative Leadership Network and seeing the value in what I do. So thank you, and I appreciate that. Now, you heard Miss Emily. I read it for you. The raw and the real. Now let's get to the raw and the real of DEI. Now let's do a deep dive. Now, for those of you who really are passionate about DEI, I'm not talking about passionate about arguing, passionate about, manipulating stuff, trying to make stuff seem the way it seems when it's really not, and the world doesn't work that way. But for you who are really passionate about DEI, I want to deep dive and give you a few minutes of insights. So bear with me, right? I want to ask you this question. Why do we as a culture normalize struggle but fear success? Let me ask that again. Why do we normalize struggle but we fear success? Because if DEI is not working, that means that, and if it's not the truth, and if it's an unbalanced concept, that means that there's a better way. And if we look into that better way, that's success. But if we stay in the struggle, fighting over and over and over about something we know ain't true, and it's just unbalanced, and the world don't work like that, then we're staying in the struggle. And why do we choose to do that? Everybody has that little fault of their own, right? Like, that's what we do as humans. So that's why I wanted to pose that. It's like self-sabotage, rejection, false ideology that sounds good, because that sounds good. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. They don't even work in the church like that. And you know that. Y'all know that. So it sounds good, but it's not the solution. Do you understand that? It's just not. Even biblically, it's not the solution. So I just wanted to ask that question. Now, what I'm going to jump into is going to be the return on DEI ROI. Do you understand what I'm saying? DEI's ROI. So let's break down the facts. Not what I think, not what you think. If you really care about the subject, let's get into the facts, right? Because both sides have argued. The right side, the left side, everybody want control, but nobody's really giving you the solid facts. What you want is the facts. What you want is to be educated. You don't want to argue about DEI. You want to know what DEI is in the law. You don't want to argue about the executive order of 11246. You want to know what is that actual law. And what I found out about a lot of people is that they'll do a lot of arguing, but they don't even know what they're arguing about. They just love to be a part of the argument movement. But you got to understand what you're arguing about. And some people know what they're arguing about, but their motives are wrong. It's more about deceit and control over the people. So let's go there. Now, okay. Executive Order 11246 is required. I'm going to start with that before DEI. It is required that federal contractors take affirmative action in hiring women and minorities. But it is white women who entered into corporate leadership at higher rates than Black employees. Now, don't make this out of a black and white thing, because by the time I get through, you're going to see it's unbalanced, no matter what race you are. Okay, it requires that federal contractors take affirmative action to ensure equal employment opportunities for minorities. Now, there is something you need to recognize. Federal contractors. We're not talking about regular corporations and regular businesses. These were federal contractors. Now, this is Executive Order 11246. It helps to promote diverse hiring in companies doing business with the government. Now, I want to go over some key aspects of non-segregated facilities, because that's really what it was about. It was about the segregation of facilities, right? This is what Lyndon B. Johnson had supposedly put in place, right? So it was about facilities because there was a lot of segregation going on. You guys over there, we over here. Now, I need for you to listen closely, because this is going to tap into why Trump was acting the way he was acting with this ban. Now, if you see Trump messing with the Civil Rights Acts of 1964, you understand what I'm saying? 1988 and all of its amendments, then you would say, okay, what's going on? But I'm finna tie into you so that you can understand why was Trump tapping into 11246. If you think it is about race, you are wrong. It was not about race. Now, if I'm wrong, you are allowed to correct me. I get it wrong sometimes, and you guys definitely get it wrong sometimes. We all do. So there's nothing wrong with us being corrected. But I want to point out something to you, and I'm not going to use the media's clips for the various reasons of a lot of times you think it's okay to use these people clips, and then these people are coming back on YouTube and they shutting people down. So I'm not going to do that. You guys have seen it in the media, and if you haven't, it's your responsibility to go and research. But I'm going to show you something. I'm going to go over a few key things about segregated facilities. And this is going to tap into what Trump was thinking when he was tapping with this law. Because he wasn't thinking about, oh, taking black people all the way back to the slave days. No, y'all. I know people like to argue, but you got to listen to what people say out their own mouth. And then you're going to see why they doing the things that they do. Okay. Number one, the 11246 executive order required that contractors provide equal employment opportunities and prohibit segregated facilities. That's what it was all about, right? This is on federal contractors. It banned contractors from maintaining, pay attention guys, separate restrooms, cafeterias, break rooms, and other facilities. I want you to pay attention. There's some keys in here. Remember, segregated. Understand this. For different races, I want you to pay attention, races, genders, or religious groups. Pay attention. Prohibited segregation practices. Federal contractors cannot have separate dining areas, restrooms, locker rooms, or lounges based on race, gender, religion. And they started adding in what was called sex. They started tampering with the law. Sex, sexes, genders. You understand what I'm saying? Gender specifically at that time meant male and female. So you can't go banning the women just because they women, but it has evolved over time. And it started tampering into transgender. It started tampering into that. You understand what I'm saying? It started tampering into men going into women's restrooms, women going into men's restrooms. And what people fail to realize is that people take their children into the restroom. So if you take your children into a public restroom and then someone walks in there and they are a male dressed as a female, some people don't feel comfortable with that. Vice versa. If you are male and you take your male son into the bathroom, some people may not feel comfortable with you dressed as a man walking into the men's restroom with their son. You understand that? Now, I'm not talking about what you think, what you don't think. I'm just giving you the facts. You understand? This is what 11246 was about, but originally it wasn't about what it's about today. Originally it was because, race and what was going on and women being banned. That's really what it was originally about. It had nothing to do with transgender, unisex bathrooms, none of that stuff, right? Now, also, the banned 11246 prohibited segregation practices. That means, again, because these were the segregated practices at that time up under this executive order with federal contractors. You can't deny the women. You understand what I'm saying? And you could not deny the races. It should be an equal thing. And you could not make separate dining areas and restrooms and locker rooms and lounges. So Trump, if you pay attention to him, and people will tell you out of the abundance of their heart what they are doing. You just have to listen to them. You have to stop baiting all the time. Like everybody wants to throw a piece of fish out there, catch the bait, and just go crazy. But no one wants to do their research, settle down, listen, and get into tune. One thing I found out about people, if you don't do what people want you to do, people will conspire against you. They will make up a whole narrative against you that sometimes don't be true, instead of looking at the actual facts. Now, what have Trump been saying the whole time? He do not believe in men running their tails up in these bathrooms, men being in the military, dressing as women, men doing this, men doing that. So he over there touching that 11246 bandwagon. It has nothing to do with race, because the Civil Rights Law of 1965 and all the its amendments are protecting you under those rights. Now, if you see Trump over there tampering with that, then that's when you need to start saying, oh, no. You understand what I'm saying? So the federal ban, it don't even really have nothing to do with contractors like you think it do. This is in the mind of Trump. He wants you to really understand, what is y'all doing? Y'all done got up in here, because what happened was that law, that Lyndon B. Johnson law, with the civil rights, with the things that were going on at that time, it wasn't made for transgender and unisex bathrooms and all this kind of stuff and facilities and all of this. It was made behind race and behind women. Because remember, women got discriminated against. That's why it was made for women and it was made for race. But over time, what people started doing is they started tampering with laws, saying, okay, but we should be up under that law too. But the truth is, Trump says, no, you should not be up under that law. And that law does not belong to you. And you should not be a male dressed as a woman in the military. We need men in the military. So you have to understand Trump thinking. You understand what I'm saying? Don't make everything out of race. This man has been telling you this since day one. So when you want to see why somebody doing something, research what they've already said. Research what they've already been talking about. So if they've been saying the whole time that, men do not belong in this and going in women's bathrooms and the children and this, all this going on, why do you think he over there messing with? Because that's all 11246 was about. It was about segregated facilities. So just pay attention. But people started getting up under that law. You remember, you can pervert a law. You do know that, right? So that means that you can take a law and make a law mean things that it didn't originally mean. So what happened is that everybody started coming up under these laws saying, well, what about Me Too? It's like the Me Too movement, huh? Me too. Me too. We all need to be up under this law. But that's not what the law was. The law was that so that Black people would not be discriminated with federal contractors, and so that women would not be discriminated. It tells you right there. Research the law. And that's what it was for. But then you had people saying, no, we can use these laws and then we can do what we want to do. And for a while, the Democrats was letting them do that. And then Trump came along and they said, what the heck is he doing? Oh, no. He trying to change it because they changed it up. So then laws started becoming things that laws wasn't originally meant to be. So when you fight and when you war, understand what you're fighting and warring about. Now, if you see Trump over there touching the civil rights law, the original civil rights law, and it's been amended. They had the original 1866. They had one way before, they had 1866. Then when Martin Luther King, 1964, like they've been having this thing for a while, right? So it's been amended time and time again. Now, when you see him tampering with those laws, then you may want to question and say, what this fool doing? But instead of arguing and fighting, understand, what has Trump been saying the whole time? What is some of those things been coming out of his mouth? Some of his ways of thinking or how he feel. Now, am I saying that that's the end all and be all? Am I saying that that's the total motive of his? I don't know that man like that, but I do know enough to know that he is adamant up in your face about certain things not being. And that's why I don't know if that's the whole reason, but I do know that that's why he over there tampering with that law. Do you understand that? Now, let's go here. Because again, we argue over stuff, but what you need to know is the facts. Now, and to understand things. Do you understand that? Now, the next question I want to ask you, with this law being in place with federal contractors, was people obeying that law? I want you to look at all the federal contracts that have went through the building of real estate, the building of all the things that has happened. Was people actually obeying that law? We're talking about the executive order of 11246. If people were actually obeying that law, then they wouldn't have had foreigners in the country taking the contracts while the other ones, Americans, were being denied. Oh, I know you don't want to hear the truth. So why is people arguing about a ban being lifted when nobody was obeying the ban in the first place? That's hard for people to deal with, ain't it? It's hard, ain't it? So if 11246 said originally that you couldn't discriminate against women and that you couldn't discriminate against race, then why was racists discriminated against? Why was the majority of blacks taken out of construction and replaced with foreigners? Why were they getting those contracts? So when Trump mentioned black jobs, what do you think he was talking about? Because when he said black job, he didn't mean, oh, work as an any pinky nanny. He was talking about those contracts. Because remember, through the United States of America, when they give out restitutional things, they give it out through contracts. So he telling you right then and there, that's why he was saying that they're taking the jobs that were supposed to be for those black people, but they were given to the who? The foreigners. So if 11246 was really being obeyed in the first place, and there was no discrimination, see, a lot of times we're not thinking and we're not being truthful. Everybody just wants to argue and fight, and nobody's being truthful about the facts, about what we all really know. Because originally that's who it was set up for. No segregation of facilities and different type of places, and also no discrimination against women. And it was set up for race for the black people at that time. Remember, we're talking about 1960 some when they put this law, Lyndon B. Johnson, into place. So if that was the case, why over time that a lot of blacks were being replaced with foreigners? People that wasn't even legal in the country. Okay. So I know that's hard for people to deal with. And I'm not talking against anybody. It's not about putting people down. It's about helping you to understand why fight over what nobody was obeying in the first place. Now, I'm going to get to DEI now. Well, actually, I'm going to get to, here you go. Because DEI is just something, a term they put out there based up under civil rights laws and all this kind of stuff, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Really pretty title, but again, nobody's living by. Now, what I want to do is present unto you actual laws that we're supposed to be living by, federal laws, whether they federal, national, or state. Okay, so these are the several key laws that's supposed to give fair treatment, anti-discrimination in the workforce in the United States of America. Number one, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Title V11. prohibits discrimination in employment based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Sex did not originally mean dressing up as a woman, dressing up as a man. It meant male and female, because a lot of women were being discriminated against at that time. It also applies, and this is where I'm telling you, I want you guys to see this, because for a lot of you that struggle with DEI and immoral acts, because DEI, especially when you have a God conscience or what you call maybe your religion or your belief systems, people struggle with DEI. So when you are a business, you have to decide on who you gonna be, because these laws apply to employees of 15 plus more. So you have to decide that, am I going to stay a small business and just expand my brand? Or if I choose to be a large business, you know you're going to have to operate a certain kind of way, because the laws are the laws and you can't break them. We're going to get there, y'all. We're going to get there. Because there is a way that you can be happy within your own company. But you have to know who you are and make decisions. Okay. So now, enforced by the Equal Opportunity Commission, EEOC, also Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA. See, guys, you need to know what your protections are. So people are out there fighting, but they don't know what it's all about. They just know what the quote other people quote. It's the same way with the Bible. People quote the Bible, but they be misquoting it because they ain't studied it. They just quoting what the pastor said, quoting what their mama said, quoting what their daddy said, and then be misinterpreting them scriptures and misquoting them. Well, it's the same way with the law. So Fair Labor Standards Act, it's letting you know what's there to protect you and what's not. That is set in place for minimum wage, overtime pay, and child labor standards. Okay. It requires non-exempt employees to receive overtime pay of 1.5x their rate for hours worked beyond 40 per week. The ADA of 1990, which is the American Disabilities Act. This prohibits discrimination against employees with disabilities. It requires employers to provide reasonable accommodations. Age discrimination in employment, which is ADEA. It protects workers 40 and older from age discrimination. Okay. It applies to businesses 20 and plus. This is why you got to know your laws. So if you say, well, what if I don't want to hire somebody that's, what if I want to hire, know your laws. If you're going to have 20 plus employees, you're going to have to go by that law. If you say, well, I'm not going to have that many employees, you don't have to go by that law. See, you got to know who you are, know what your standards are, know what your morals are, and then you're happy with what you are building. Some things you may value, some things you may don't. Some things you may want, some things you may not want. So in order to comply within law, you got to know who you are. You just got to know it. And then you got to make sure that you operate that way. So nobody will come back and say, but they ain't breaking the law. You understand? Now, OSHA, 1970, Occupational Safety and Health Act, ensures safe working conditions. Employers must follow safety standards and provide a hazard-free workplace. FMLA, Family and Medical Leave Act. It allows eligible employees to take up to 12 weeks of unpaid leave for medical and family, childbirth, serious health issues or conditions and stuff like that. Guess what it applies to? Know your laws. They be saying, well, why come certain companies can do it and certain companies can't? It tells you through the law. It applies to employers with 50 plus employees. Know your laws. Why do you think when people are a small company that why do you think all of the Hispanics have their little small companies, but they don't have to hire blacks? As much as people always root rotting about DEI, we know DEI my butt. But they don't be hiring blacks, they hire their own people. Why? Because they're not over a certain amount of employees and they within the law. And if blacks would only learn how to stop being selfish, how to stop kicking each other in the head, build businesses, and choose to say, I'm going to hire my own, then you're going to solve some of these problems. But if you want to keep fronting about DEI and keep kicking other blacks in the head, trying to make sure you keep them down, well, how exactly far do you think that's supposed to take us, honey, on the mayor-made ship? It's not going to take us far at all. Why do you think Asians can run their shops, their nail shops, their companies, their this, and they don't have to hire a white person or a black person or a this, because they're well within bounds of the law? So if black people would learn to stop trying to steal from each other, harm each other, take each other's ideal, kick each other in the head, be this and be that, and help one another, and then start hiring one another and staying within the law, then you're helping to build your community. You always talking about you looking for solutions. Those are the solutions. Not crying about DEI, which doesn't work at all. Even black folks will discriminate against you in the company. Come on, y'all. You know it's true. So if we would just learn, guys, to uplift one another. Stop trying to harm people all the time. Stop faking the front. Stop selling your soul to the devil, faking the front, acting like that's what you want when it's really not what you want. Now, Equal Pay Act, EPA of 1963. It requires men and women to be paid equally for equal work. Let's be honest. This law was in 1963. Why is women still hollering that they ain't got paid equally? Sound like some DEI stuff to me, huh? Now, National Labor Relations Act, NLRA of 1935, protects employees' rights to unionize, collectively bargain, and strike. Okay? Whistleblower protection laws protects employees from retaliation when they are reporting illegal or unethical activities. It also protects under if you file with EEO in discrimination cases, and there's retaliation, it protects in that too. So those are your laws that protect you as employees in the corporate American workspace. Those are your laws. The federal contractor laws has nothing to necessarily do with that. That's more federal contracting. But if you really tap into why he is tapping into that, they said, well, he fired all of those black employees over there. He fired a lot of white employees too, y'all. Y'all just got to be honest and quit race bait. He fired a lot of white employees over there. It wasn't just blacks. It's just whatever narrative people want to tell you, okay? So the only reason why I'm giving you this information today is so that you can really truly understand what your laws are when you are working as a corporate person. And then if you are an entrepreneur, you understand what the laws are, but at the same time, people have different ideas about DEI. Some people in their mind think that DEI is if I hire a gay person, if I hire a black person, if I hire a white person, Asian or Mexican, if I hire someone that's a disability, all of that, then I'm diverse and I'm equitable and I'm inclusion. The truth is that it's a fallacy. You didn't do it because that's what you wanted to do. You did it because that's what you thought the law told you to do. Because if that was the truth, you would have a lot of more people with disabilities who have jobs. You would have a lot of more people not being discriminated against when they turned away from jobs. There's a lot more. And then these laws been put in place for a while. EEOC would not have all these reports that they have concerning discrimination cases constantly being filed, regardless of how long these laws have been put in place. Okay? So what you have to decide is what works for you. Who are you? What is your belief system? What do you want? What do you not want? What's within your bounds? What's not within your bounds? When you are an employee and you work for a large corporation, you have no power. Your only power is to go to work and to appreciate you got a job and you have to work with a collective of people. You can't be leaving work, all these gay people, all this, all that. That's the life you choose when you're working that path. If you're a person, you say, I like more family values, I like to be around a culture that believes what I believe, then you need to go find small businesses that hire like that. And then you are creating a more equitable and just and honest society. I know you may not think that that's not true, but it is true. Because when you honor your own intention, when you honor your own feelings, when you honor your own morals, when you honor who you are, do you understand what I'm saying? Instead of trying to fit in where you don't fit in, do you understand that? Then that's what helps create a more honest, just, and equitable society. Because you're happy being in the environments that you like to be in. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's no, either or. You create a more just, equitable, and honest society by choosing who you are, understanding who you are. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not talking about what people teaching you and how people manipulate you, but who you truly are. And then you make sure that you accommodate in those type of environments. And then you don't have to worry about the strife and the fighting and the this and the that. You are comfortable with what you are doing. Now, on the entrepreneur side, it's the same way. You can't want to build a company with large employees and be on the stock exchange, and you're going to be complaining about all the different people you got to hire. It doesn't work that way. And then know this, when you are a small business and you want to create the environment, you literally have more power as a small business than you do a corporation. When you are a big corporation, you are up under, you understand what I'm saying, a different kind of thing. You're more up under listen, the corporations are up under investment. Do you understand that? So that means that they're on the stock exchange, they're on all this kind of stuff. Well, there are different people that invest in that. So if there are different people that invest in that, you can't discriminate against that, because that's what makes your money. Do you understand that you're not a private entity? There are all types of people that in there may be a Satanist, there may be a Christian, there may be this, there may be gays, there may be atheists, there may be all kinds of people, but they all invest in the same company. So you can't discriminate. But if you're a small business, you have a little bit more power because you get to create the environments that you want. If you want your business to be a little bit more family oriented, if you want to hire all women, if you want to hire all men, if you want to hire, you get to do that. If you want to hire all blacks or all Latinos, because I often thought to myself, why do Latinos be having all these companies and they don't be hiring nobody, Even when you look at Asians, it's the same way. Why? But they still within law. They doing what's comfortable for them. They come here, they build a business, and they hire their people. The problem with black people is that we want to argue about DEI, kick each other in the head, act like it's all the white man's fault, and then sit there and won't help each other. We could be doing the same thing they do. Those are facts. That's why I'm bringing you facts. That's why I'm bringing you the education to understand what the laws are. Okay? Now let's get into biblical facts when it comes to DEI. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, on it. Because According to the Bible promotes unity, love, and justice, but it also establishes moral and integrity boundaries that can be at odds with modern day interpretations of what they call diversity, equity, and inclusion. Do you understand that? Okay. So, sin. Let's talk about sin and righteousness. Woe unto those who call evil good and good evil. So, this is the scripture that the Bible is talking about. And there's another scripture where it says that men would call evil good and good evil. Woe unto those that call good evil and evil good, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter sweet and sweet for bitter. In other words, letting you know, twisting up things, right? And so the fear of man brings a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord shall be safe. Now, this is the reason why these scriptures are here, because it's letting you know that a lot of times people fear, instead of going by their own conscience or what they feel is right for themselves, they fear what men say. You understand what I'm saying? And they compromise their values and their morals just to play along, just to get along. So equity and righteousness. Okay. You shall not do injustice and judgment. You shall not be partial to the poor or honor a person of the mighty. In righteousness, you shall judge your neighbor. In other words, judge by a righteous conscience. You understand? And so it talks about partiality. Partiality in judging is not good. Whoever says to the wicked, you are the right, you will be cursed by peoples and abhorred by nations. Now, inclusion. Let's get into inclusion. But now I am writing to you to not associate with anyone who bears the name of brother if he is guilty of sexual immorality or greed, or in an idolater, reveler, drunkard, or swindler, to not even eat with such a one. Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers, for what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness? Or what fellowship has light with darkness? And this is why people struggle sometimes with DEI. Do you understand that? Therefore, go out from amongst them and be ye separate from them, says the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing. Then I will welcome you. Take no part in unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. Okay, so it lets you know that the Bible wants everybody to be treated fairly. But that doesn't mean that the Bible wants us to go out and start mixing with things that we're not supposed to mix with. So that's basically what it's saying, right? Now, when you look at the example, because I don't like to just read scriptures, I like to look at the examples of the Bible. So when you look at the examples of the Bible, anywhere from Joseph to Daniel to all these different people, it wasn't that they were isolated. They were not isolated. Do you understand that? So Daniel was up under, who was that? When they threw him in the lion's den and all that kind of stuff. And he said, I refuse to worship your God, your system. And they threatened to kill him. It doesn't mean that he stopped going to work saying, I can't work because of that. You know what I'm saying? That's not what it's saying. What it's saying is that don't forget that you do live in such a world, but you need to be ye separate. Be ye separate means separate in conscience, separate in thoughts. Don't start taking on the behavior. Don't start taking on the things that people do that are so ungodly in the world. Those are the teachings, right? You can't control the world, but you're supposed to be able to control your own soul salvation. And for those who feel that they don't want to be in those type of environments, entrepreneurship offer you that. But you have to know how to do entrepreneurship. You have to know how to build a business that is so large without building a business that is so large. Do you understand what I'm saying? You have to make sure your employees are a certain amount but your brand is expanded to where it can reach everyone. Therefore, when you in your company, you have control within your company and the environments that you want to be in. These are solutions. You may not think they are, but they are. And so instead of crying about DEI, which we can all see that it's a lie, even blacks discriminate against other blacks. Why don't people start learning how to take their skills, their gifts, and their talents, building companies, bringing teams on, quit fussing about all this stuff and just do it. Just do it. And in today's time, it really don't take a lot of money. It just don't. You see the foreigners doing it all day long, honey. They'll be done chop shop, got up over here, baby. They be done built up a whole cleaning business like it ain't nothing. And they'll hire all APs. And then next thing you know, they done went from cleaning to real estate investing to everything you can think of. They don't stop. So that's what we should be doing. Because the truth is, there are going to be some blacks that don't like us. So we supposed to sit there and argue about DEI when a black person won't even give you a job? And to all you black people who are arguing about DEI, how many black people have hired you? This is why people tend to get upset with me, because I like to bring the truth. How many black people have actually gave you a job? What color was the race that hired you? So all I'm saying is that if that's what you really want, understand the law, understand that if you really want black people to prosper and black people to do good, then build companies and hire black people. That's what the Asians do. That's what the Latinas do. You can't go knocking down a white man's door saying, hey, you ain't giving us no opportunities. Boo, that's what you supposed to be doing. But every time God give y'all an opportunity, whether it's through a mason, whether it's through whatever door, you guys want to shut the door on other black folk. And then get up in the media and holler DEI. Come on, y'all. This is a con game. Even the facts coming back through the EEOC is letting you know it's a con game. And those are some of the solutions of how we start solving problems. I personally don't think it's nothing wrong with a white man having a small business and he want to hire people that look like him. I personally don't think it's nothing wrong with Asians and Latinos doing that. So why are blacks always the one pulling at everybody though saying give us DEI? When we're smart, we're intelligent, we know how to build, they know how to build, we're no different. But the problem is that we got this thing where we don't want to help one another. And that needs to stop. It ain't a DEI problem, it's an evil problem. And we need to work on it. Because until you fix that, you can cry about DEI all the time. We all know that it really doesn't work like, okay? Even the Bible is letting you know that people are torn between what's righteous and what's not, what's ethical and what's not. There's a tearing. So if the Bible is letting you know that DEI is unbalanced, how much more the facts from EEOC prove it? Things did not get better because they threw out the corn term DEI. As a matter of fact, a lot of the cases got worse, because what happens is when you try to make people be something that they don't want to be, things do get worse. Because you're trying to make people be what they don't want to be. You're trying to make them fit in something that doesn't work. If an ice skater don't want to hang out with a gangster, they just don't. They want to hang out with ice skaters. They don't want to be a gangster. And so you're trying to put all these different people together that really don't click together. That's why let me show you an example. In any big company, when you have an employee gathering, don't people click with who they click with? You can just sit back and watch the party and you will see the groups that click together. It just is what it is. It's just a part of human nature. People like what they like and they don't like what they don't like. I'm not saying being mean and being brutal and all that old crazy stuff. You don't have to be that. That's why I was saying you can build more just, equitable societies and communities, but you first have to admit who you truly are, what you truly like and what you truly don't. And then you create that environment for yourself. And then that way you're not uncomfortable. That way you don't have to worry about gossiping about these people or that people or this going on or that going on. That way you don't have to worry about discrimination. When you're working up under all the people you like and love, you don't have to worry about discrimination. You don't have to worry about being fouled against. But when you working in a big company, 500 plus and all these employees, you got to go by what they say go. In other words, you lose less control. So you have to decide what you want, what you don't want, and then create those environments. Some people don't want to work with gay people. They like more family-oriented communities. Are they necessarily a bad person for that? They're only bad if they're abusing the person, but they're not bad for what they want. There are some gay people that don't like to work around all white men. Are they bad for that? If they are abusing the white man and the white man ain't done nothing to them. But if that's just not their preference, it's not their preference. You have to create, in order for you to be just and equitable, you have to create environments for you that work for you. And then that way you don't have to worry about discrimination. You don't have to worry about anger or upset or arguments or fights, because you're building your own communities. You're building your way of thinking, your way of being. And people may say, that's just wrong. No, it's not. People are going to do that anyway. All churches don't agree with other churches. All people inside of one church be fighting and catting and don't agree. It's just the way it is, guys. So, and how you solve that is stop lying to yourself. Stop trying to pretend that you care so much about DEI when you know you lying and it's a lie, because it's just an unbalanced concept and humans don't work that way. Some people like cats, some people like dogs. Some people don't like neither or, they like horses. Like you can't put everybody in this little pool and expect everybody to it just doesn't work that way. So if you want to create, or if you want to have a more just and equitable and inclusive society, exclude yourself from things that don't work and include yourself into things that do work. And if you don't have that, build that. And just know the laws. I tell people all the time, break the rules, just don't break the law. It's just that simple. Know what you can do and know what you can't do, because the law is right there to tell you. I learned that from when I was working in real estate. So they have the thing called the Fair Housing Act, right? Which came up under the civil rights thing. Now, in that law in real estate, when you're selling your own real estate, or let's just say you managing your own real estate, let's say you got about 5 houses, right? By law, you can discriminate. You don't have to have whoever you, just because they gay or just because they black or white or whatever, put them inside your stuff. By law, you can put who you want to put in there. When you start getting over 5 properties or more, because now you're being considered as an enterprise, you fall up under the Fair Housing Act law. So you just got to know your laws. That's to do with housing and rental housing, and that's to do with management of properties. Now the corporations are in the business is the same way. So under certain laws, you can't have this many employees or that many employees. You understand? Because now they're saying you're getting outside of 50 employees. Now you have to expand. You have to do it differently now. So why do some companies get to hire who they want to hire, how they want to hire? Because they understand how to stay within the law. And they make a lot of money too. They ain't broke it all, millions and millions and millions. They just understand what works for them. And they don't have to worry about discrimination because they ain't out there discriminating. They got the people that they want to work with. I look at certain family law practices. I be sitting there watching that. They will hire the assistant they want to hire. They would, little practices, all kind of stuff. Dental offices, all kind of things out there. Little customer service places, all of that, But you walk up in there, you may see all white people. You may walk in the company and see all black people. But they're not breaking the law, though. They doing what works for them and what they feel comfortable with. So what I'm saying to you all, instead of arguing about stuff that you know ain't true, that's why people leave jobs all day long gossiping about everything. We know ain't no such thing as that. When we know it's not true, create the environments that you want, that you enjoy, that bring you pleasure. I mean good pleasure. I don't mean worldly pleasure. Like if you like having an all-woman team because you like lifting up women and you like giving women opportunities, there's nothing wrong with that. You're not bashing men. That's just what your preference is. But within law, you understand that after a certain amount of employees, you got to expand. You can't. They'll start considered as discrimination then. So number one, it all starts with you. I know teams of women, they be about 3 women work at a job. They be making buku bucks, millions. But they 3 to 4 women that work together, love what they do, friends, all of that. Do what works for you. You think those women have to worry about discrimination? No. They all amongst each other doing what they want to do. And instead of blacks beating down everybody though, talking about you owe us. No, we owe ourselves to build and to help each other. And until we get to that point, everybody just be lying about DEI. You can be diverse and equitable and inclusive by doing what works for you. You really can. Then therefore, you don't have to worry about harming someone else or judging someone else. And then you bringing forth work in the earth that's helping the people that you want to help or doing the things that you want to do. Why are we always crying about black people this, black people that, black people this, but then black people won't even give another black person a job? Be acting funny. It don't make sense, do it? So I wanted to touch on this subject today. Again, solution empowerment. Here's how we move from the DEI drama, because it is what it is, whether you want to face it or not, in business and in life. Know the law. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, know the law. Know what you can do, know what you cannot do, but also know who you are and what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. You understand what I'm saying? And if you're an employee, know the same. Because sometimes employees think they have no control. Yes, you do. It's so much out here you can apply for. Yes, you do. It's just you've been trained to think in a certain kind of way. So that's number one. Okay. Number two, again, just know yourself. As you begin to know, like I already know what kind of business I want to build. I already know the way I want to build it, how I think about it, how I envision it, why I think the way I do it. Like I already know. So know yourself. Number two, if you one of the people that you believe in what you call godly principles, and you like to go by the commandments and the things of law and spiritual law, and you know that certain things in DEI, even though it's making the term sounds good, but the behavior in DEI is totally the opposite. It's really immoral behavior sometimes. Then the only thing that I can tell you is that you got to make a choice. You have a choice you have to make. You can either sit back and complain about it, or you can sit up and say, hey, as an employee, Is there something better I can find that reflect what I like to see? Or you can build a business and then build what you like to see. So sometimes the solutions that people are looking for are not hard. You either an employee or you either an entrepreneur. It's just one of the two. But within being both, you have a choice. You just have to start with knowing who you are and what you want. Okay? And when you do that, then now you're not up under the pressure to feel like you're in the wrong environments or you this or you that. You're creating the life you want. I didn't say it was easy, guys. I just said you have to go for it and make it happen. I ain't said nothing about it was easy. You know, some things are easy in life, some things are not. Okay? So sometimes we looking for these big old solutions in life, and sometimes the solutions is just simple in your face. Stop beating down white people doors, trying to make white people do things that you don't even want to do for black people yourself. Because when you care about those things, you will build those things. I'll give you an example of two women who have done that. So you got a gay woman, her name is Arlington Hamilton. Arlen Hamilton. She is what's called a capital venturelist, or whatever you call those people. She said that she didn't see a lot of women and a lot of gay people in venture capitalism and having the businesses that others should have. So what did she do? She created that. I know another black woman, I forget her name, she writes that book about, oh, we can all be a millionaire. She said that she didn't see a lot of women and just a lot of blacks getting the opportunity. So what did she do? She created that. So what I'm saying is that instead of arguing about it, because that's not going to change it, and plus it's just an unbalanced concept. See, Arlen is not going to hire all men a male team. Why? Because Arlen is gay. So she don't want to be surrounded around all males. But is she wrong or is she right? According to her world, she's creating a just society. Why? Because it's not about discriminating against men. It's about building the world that she wants and that she wants to see. So what I'm saying to you guys is that if you really care about DEI and that's what you really want to see is black people having more opportunities, then start hiring black people. Other than that, stop playing the con game. Okay, guys? And that's really all I have to say today. And if you enjoyed this message, sweetheart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you hated this message, go on and leave your comments. I mean, it don't matter to me. I'm just going by life and I'm going by truth and I'm going by understanding because I worked in corporate for 30-something. Girl, I've seen some of the gamness of the gamness of the gamness. I already know the world don't work like that. I know the church don't work like that. I know the White House don't work like that. Everybody knows that. But if that's what we say we want, then you're going to build what you say you want, or at least you're going to go look for it and become it. You see what I'm saying, guys? Do you think that an Asian person is not being diverse, inclusive, and equitable because they hire all Asians at their little small company? That will be far from the truth. How many people would hire a whole bunch of Asians? Not many. So they provide that amongst themselves. Do you understand that? They're being more diverse, they're being more inclusive by providing that amongst themselves. So they won't be counted out. That's what we all need to learn how to do, no matter who you are. I can't tell you if you're wrong. You can't tell me if I'm wrong. I can't tell you if you're right. You can't tell me if we're right. But if you say you want what you want, somehow we should be trying to make those things happen, right? You guys be blessed. That is my take on DEI. I wanted to give you a little bit of me, but I also wanted to give you the facts and give you the truth and understanding of what laws do protect you as an employee, and then what you can do as an entrepreneur. You understand what I'm saying? And a business owner. You guys have a blessed and beautiful day. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, check out my newsletter. Everything is in the description. And join me for next week. Hit the notification bell. I'm always bringing it, baby. You guys have a good one. Bye-bye.